So yesterday, right smack dab in the middle of my live stream, Chad announces to me that Clay Helton is out at USC, and y'all got to see my live reaction. But today, now that I've thought about it, I want to talk about 4 names that I find intriguing for the job, as well as how this could have reverberations on the recruiting trail, because USC has top-ranked guys in their class that the likes of Alabama, Michigan are after, and they're locked in battles with the likes of Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma, so we need to talk about how this could affect the recruiting trail. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you agree with the firing of Clay Helton? And then let me know who you would like to see replace him. I cannot wait to hear from y'all. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content, and you don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy it, be sure to like and comment down below. With all that being said, let's jump into this. And I don't disagree at all with the firing of Clay Helton. Look, this is something that seems to have been in the making for quite some time. That seat has been getting warmer and warmer and warmer for a while now, and ultimately the straw that broke the camel's back was this past weekend. And I think that that has been something that has been in the making for quite some time. I have to wonder if the success on the recruiting trail ultimately helped Clay Helton extend his stay at USC, because at the end of the day, USC's been recruiting pretty darn well here recently, right? And they've certainly been coming up that recruiting trail and that ladder, really ranking themselves with top-level prospects. If we look at last year, signing Corey Foreman, the #1 player in the class of 2021, and then getting Rayshawn Davis on signing day, really solid inside linebacker prospect. Then you fast forward to this year, Damani Jackson, 5-star cornerback, Mykel Williams, 5-star defensive tackle. So the Trojans have really been recruiting well. And so I have to wonder if that has helped Helton keep on to his job, but ultimately the loss this past weekend was it. But let's talk about the higher possibilities before we get into the recruiting reverberations. And I have 4 names that are at least intriguing to myself in thought exercises, and just logically I think they're fun. First and foremost is Urban Meyer, right? Urban Meyer had incredible success at the college level, now going to the NFL. But if that doesn't work, why not USC? USC is interesting for a few reasons. First and foremost, it's a program that's rich in history. Secondly, they have the brand recognition. Third, they have location. And 4, the media availability, especially in the age of NIL. Now, NIL is not the end-all be-all, right? Because the NIL money ultimately is dwarfed in comparison to the NFL money. But that's why, at least if you are Urban Meyer, you look at this area in California and you say, okay, this could be a project that I could really help turn around. I talked about it in the live stream. If we look at the exodus of talent from California, specifically at the quarterback position, it's head-spinning. Head-spinning. The starting quarterback of Ohio State, Clemson, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama all hail from California. And 2 of those guys, in JT Daniels and Bryce Young, were at one point committed to USC. One of those guys, in JT Daniels, actually played his first year at USC. And so the exodus of talent has been really just critical for the USC Trojans. So getting somebody who can keep that talent home is going to be key. So Urban Meyer is my first name. My next is Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell has been an exciting name in the college football sphere for a while now, especially with what he's done at Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been such a great story and a really solid team. It's one thing to be a great story for a year. It's another thing to actually be a really solid team, and they're showing they're a really solid team. Fickell is going to be a name that multiple institutions are looking at for their next head coaching job, and if you're USC and you have all the resources I just talked about, why not Fickell? Right? He's a guy that's going to be talked about for a head coaching position sooner rather than later. Now, the difference here is that there's a world of difference between the expectations as the head coach of USC and the expectations of the head coach of Cincinnati. So that's going to be something to keep in mind. But ultimately, Fickell's done a great job in his capacity as the head coach of Cincinnati, and he's a name that's going to be on the forefront of a lot of head coaching positions. And with the resources, with the brand recognition, with the NIL capabilities USC has, it would at least be intriguing, right? It would at least be an intriguing fit. My next name might be a little controversial, right? This might be a little controversial. I said it in the live stream, but that's why I'm going to bring it back. Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze didn't have the fall from grace after leaving Ole Miss that you would want, but Hugh Freeze is a brilliant offensive mind. He runs a really high-powered offense that had a ton of success when he was at Ole Miss. He's a guy that knows how to get it done on the offensive side of the football, and he plays an exciting brand of football. That, mixed with the talent that you have at the Trojans, mixed with the talent in the state and the ability to get that talent to want to come play for him, could be huge. It could be explosive offense, and that could be a really entertaining thing to see at the Trojans. And finally, my last name, Matt Campbell, the Iowa State head coach. Now, I know that he has been in talks with Iowa State for a while, and it doesn't look like he is leaving, but he's had a lot of success at Iowa State, a program that didn't have success before he came. And so anything you could do to try and get him from Iowa State would probably be a good thing, because multiple teams are going to be trying to lift him from the Cyclones for a while now. USC just happens to be one of those programs that has a higher propensity chance to lift a coach from a program which they already have a good thing going, because they have the history, they have the brand recognition, they have the NIL capabilities. So it's really the perfect storm with the Trojans, right? So any of these four names, I think you can have success because you have a lot of things going on the back end for the Trojans that make it a place that could at least be intriguing. Now, ultimately, how does this affect recruiting, right? Because we've heard from Damani Jackson that the only three teams he would be talking about per an article in SB Nation were USC, Alabama, and Michigan. And now that Clay Helton is out, I'm not saying that that's going to cause Damani Jackson to decommit, certainly not, but it is going to be interesting to see how it goes going forward, because he's already said he is going to keep up communication with Michigan and Alabama. Now with Helton out, you're competing against the Alabama Crimson Tide and Michigan without a head coach and without a really clear direction as leadership at the top. Whereas Alabama, they have Nick Saban, and they do what they do with DBs. They put them into the league at such a high level. I mean, just look in the draft. Look at the DBs in the NFL for Alabama. It's incredible. Michigan has Harbaugh, right? And Harbaugh has had his ups and downs, but at least there's a head coach and a direction there. And Harbaugh and Michigan at least look decent this year. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But in no way am I saying that Damani Jackson's going to jump ship. Remember, I just said at the beginning of this, Williams is a really solid recruiter, and at the end of the day, if you are a USC fan, you're happy that he's placed in the interim position because of the success he's had on the recruiting trail. I think it gives you a better chance of not losing out on these guys. But then you look at a prospect such as Mykel Williams. Once again, you're battling Alabama and now Georgia for the services of five-star defensive tackle from the state of Georgia. This is going to be something we have to watch, right? We're going to have to watch how these battles go going forward, because now you're looking at it where Mykel Williams is looking at the situation, no head coach. You don't know who the head coach is going to be. You look back home, you have the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs calling you. And we know what those teams do in the draft. We know what those teams do, right? Especially on the defensive side of the ball. And ultimately, you have a prospect in Gentry Williams out the state of Oklahoma, who it's already kind of been this teetering show as to Oklahoma, USC, who's he feeling? At the end of the day, if you don't have direction as the head coach, at least Oklahoma has Lincoln Riley. That's going to be really interesting in the coming months to see how recruiting is affected because of this move. Because Williams is a good person to put at that interim spot right now because of his success on the recruiting trail, but you are now in a position where you're recruiting against people that have some sort of consistency, where at the current state, you do not. This is something that is going to be really, really interesting to see how it plays out. I'm really interested in hearing from y'all. Hop down in the comments, let me know. That's it. See ya.